Good morning. My name is Chris Cowan. I am founder and CEO of Grit Virtual. It's very exciting to be coming to you today talking about Grit Virtual. It has been over 300 days since we put our last video out talking about Grit, and some of you may have noticed that we've been pretty quiet for most of 2019. We've spent the entire year working with a few key clients to understand what the principles of Grit really are, what was good in the product, and what really needed to go. So over the next 4 days, I'll be talking about the new Grit and how we have adjusted the product to make it easier to integrate into your existing workflows. Now, I'll use this quick diagram to show you the difference between old and new Grit. Old Grit was really an and situation. We were built upon a BIM mandate that you had to have a 3D asset in order for Grit to even be viable. We also built in not only our web interfaces, our mobile interfaces, but also virtual reality interfaces that introduced a hardware requirement in order to get last planner involvement from the foreman. We did away with CPM on our scheduling because we believed there was a different way to see the end goal of the construction sequence. And we did that by introducing an AI simulation that looked at resource availability, time and space availability, and also obviously required the 3D model. So the new Grit is fairly pretty much the obvious. We've made BIM optional. So whether you have a BIM asset or not, you will be able to use Grit and receive value from that. Some of you may have seen last year we did stop all VR development, but now we've really moved forward to saying we're never going back. We've put a hold on the last planner process. So while Grit is still a collaborative schedule, we don't see it as being collaborative scheduling. We are largely going to rely on the output of the master schedule builders, but still extend invites to subcontractor or trade foremen to be involved in the collaborative process. And we'll talk about that over the next 4 days. We've allowed CPM and largely rely upon it to do our construction sequencing and have eliminated that AI simulation aspect. So effectively over the last 9 months, we have completely watered down to the core version of the product and ripped out and replaced the engine that primarily does the sequencing. So over the next few days, I'm going to talk about the different modules that you can use in this OR situation. So rather than requiring all of these things before you get a bit of value, a schedule, a model asset, 10 or 20 involved in the last planner process, now you can use Grit for pretty much whatever configuration you would like. This is all based upon a base schedule that is in a collaborative cloud CPM to remove the PDFs and the Excels that come out of those systems. So not only those documents or files that come out, but also the cloud system that you use to share it with your project team. So to quickly walk through that, I want to show you a project that I just imported with the XML schedule. When it comes to our imports, we can now accept the subcontractor assignment, which makes your job on Grit much easier. But you can see that once we bring these items in, we color code the activities so it's very clear to see whose is which. We've also made it easy to filter. So basically being able to understand exactly what is my work and what do I care about, rather than looking at a 60-page PDF Gantt and really drilling down to the 10 or 5% of that you care about. So enhanced filtering, color coding, really quickly understanding the dependencies that your activities have on them by simply clicking and having color code of predecessor and successor allows us to quickly understand exactly who cares about what. So rather than having a document, we want to send the data to the field so that it can be used in a new way. That automatically feeds into a look ahead. So this is similar but pretty slightly adjusted from the last look ahead we have with a 1, a 3, and a 6-week perspective that breaks down the schedule into the individual subcontractor swim lanes. So that you can see that over time, once again, the subcontractors can really focus on exactly what they care about. So it's taking the macro schedule of the interdependencies between contractors and making all of the micro schedules so every trade foreman can really drill down to what they want. And we'll talk about some of the additional features they can do with that in the near future. Now, this would be a good time to reiterate the fact that we got to this point inside of the Grid application in about a minute. So based upon your export from P6 or project, if you have that subcontractor assignment, you can get up and running with a cloud-based Gantt that you can invite users to and automatically build 1, 3, and 6 week look-aheads that have all this dynamic functionality that you're actually able to extend to your project team without the risk of manipulating the data in an Excel file or having them not know how to navigate. And also you'll notice there is no viewer associated with this. So there is no need for a 3D model. However, both of these pages are going to be able to be attached to a viewer should you choose to do so. Something we want to make sure that we just never really talked about in the future, but in the past, every activity has a conversation thread associated with it. So anytime you're assigned to an activity and a note is put into the conversation thread, you'll get notified from it. And whether it is a user putting in text or adding a photo, or it's the system updating the status of that activity, you will see the entire audit trail of everything that has occurred within that activity. Also, our entire application on a per user basis can be switched to Spanish. That's something that we really didn't focus on pushing in our videos in the last year, but this is all around the means and effort to make this a collaborative scheduling tool, knowing that there are many diverse workers out there on the field. Now we realize some people might say, well, where's all the bells and whistles that Grid is known for? Those are coming. We're excited to show those in the next few days. But what we really wanted to focus on is the barrier of entry for usage of Grid, where you can have a very stable platform that encourages collaboration, the sharing of data, and making your schedule actionable, explorable, rather than simply a document that gets a once-over and maybe marked up with a pen or a highlighter. So stay tuned in the next coming days. I want to make mention that we'll be at Procore Groundbreak in Phoenix next week. If you would like to get a hands-on demonstration of this, please reach out and we'll get something scheduled so that I can show you exactly how Grid can be used on all of your projects. Thanks. Talk to you soon.